let's see. How much are they in Canadian dollars? Okay, Slime VR are $303 Canadian. I don't have that much money. So I learned that someone made software that lets you use Joy-Cons as Slime VR trackers. I don't have that, so I wrote code that let me use PS5 controllers as Slime VR trackers. So this took about a week. And let's run it. Okay, the first PS5 controller has been detected. And now the second one has. Alright, so the Slime VR software seems to be picking up the controllers. Now, when we rotate the controller, the Slime VR software also seems to be picking up the correct rotations. I am sending the rotation data, well actually I have to convert the accelerometer data and the gyroscope data that the PS4 or PS5 controller has and send to Slime VR. Okay, we're also going to install a program called OOTrack. OOTrack lets you use your cell phone as a Slime VR tracker. Here's a diagram of my proposed body placement, but apparently you need 5 trackers. So, I wrote code to pretend I have 5. So all my trackers seem to show up, the DualSense shows up, and my fake thigh tracker shows up too. Okay, we're gonna walk around and test these out on our feet. They seem to stay on. I just used a bunch of yarn. Alright, so we're in VR chat. When we put our legs behind us, it seems to work. Putting legs in front of us seems to also work. Alright, let's try stretching. Kinda works. Let's sit down. I mean, getting those kinda weird looking, but I mean, after they settle in, it's looking okay. And let's turn to our side. I mean, still kind of okay, right? Alright, let's try lifting our legs up. And it seems to look okay. Alright, lift up both legs. Alright, let's stand up. Yeah, that did look a little weird, but I mean, baby steps, right? Alright. Just doing some upper body stuff. Alright, let's try jumping. That doesn't look too bad. Alright, so, I have the, foot rotation tied to the HMD rotation, because I couldn't figure out how to get consistent yaw, and if I spin around in circles, it kind of, does some janky stuff to the feet. And if I walk around, it's also kind of jank, so, you know. So, if I had more PlayStation 5 controllers, maybe this would work a little better, because I'd have actual, 2 extra sensors. But getting a couple Joy-Cons seems to be cheaper, because I can get 2 of them for $99. And, okay, this project is on GitHub, open source, whatever, so if anyone wants to contribute and makes this better, they can. And, so you might be wondering, how did the Slime VR community react to this? Well, when I talked about using PS5 controllers, if you want to use your PS5 controllers as Slime VR trackers, you now can. I can't guarantee that they're the best method of foot tracking, but if you have them laying around and you can't afford getting Slime VR trackers in the meantime, although you probably should get Slime VR trackers to begin with, if you can afford it, you can try PS5 controllers if you got them. So, it's been a month since I decided to do something absolutely cursed because I don't really have money. I decided to turn PS5 controllers into slime trackers. And I've had a lot of time to reflect. I even came up with a better way to mount them to my legs. Rather than using slippers and yarn, I'm now using headphone bags and bungee cables. Don't worry about it though. I don't lose too much circulation in my feet. I mean, they have fallen asleep a few times, but that's neither here nor there. So, let's go over what's changed. Here's a diagram of what I was doing before. But I found a cell phone with a broken screen, but it otherwise still works, so it's now a chest tracker. That's the wrong photo. So anyway, here's everything I'm working with. And I've got some brand new software. Let's see how it all holds up now, a month later. So I'm putting my legs behind me, doing a little dance, lifting my legs in front of me, and to the sides. Let's try sitting down. It's always a little scuffy getting up or getting down, but I can now move my legs forwards and backwards. And also kind of lift my legs up. And this is using pure rotation that is based on the PS5 controllers. And this is me spinning around. So the phone I'm using as my hip tracker is kind of helping with the calculations here. Alright, this is us laying on our stomach, where we can now bend our legs behind us. It's not perfect, but considering this is just two PS5 controllers that are tracking my feet, I am impressed with how far it's kind of come along. So, more side-to-side legs and spinning at the same time. And here's some walking. Don't mind the fact that some things in my taskbar were open. And yeah, we're doing some spinny spins. Jump spin. More leg stuff. Lifting our legs up and spinning. And another little dance. Now, let's try some strafing. Walking is still kind of weird, but it's a little better than it used to be. By how much, I'll let you guys judge, but, you know, it's a lot more responsive than it was before. And I was able to do that partially by getting rid of the gyro, which sounds backwards, but it meant I didn't have to do any smoothing over time. And yeah, it seems to work. Another thing that's really good is that the feet rotation is now completely independent from the HMD rotation. I am able to get the hip tracker rotation and use that to inform the yaw of the feet, since I found that to be the most accurate way of doing yaw for the feet. And yeah, that's everything. There's a GitHub, you can try it out. It works for PS5 controllers, DualShock 4, and maybe some other gyro-based controllers that I haven't tested yet. So, go crazy. I do not endorse or support the use of controllers with slime. SlimeVR was a mistake and nobody shall ever use it, besides the people using the Wrangler remote version, which is illegal. So I took this as a challenge. I decided to look into SlimeVR, but it's gone. But my budget is low and I want more body trackers. So let's write some Wii homebrew. It works. Alright, let's run the PC application. Alright. Oh, where did I put the camera? Okay, it's right. Oh, okay. I gotta actually reset everything. Make sure the face track is positioned properly. I'm trying to smile, but it's not. Okay, let's see. I'm just situating everything at the moment. That's weird. Let's see. We're going to be starting off the stream troubleshooting, I think. Oh, you know what? My face camera is super foggy. I just gotta find my cleaning cloth. The biggest problem with the mouth tracker is over time, it'll just get a bunch of like fog and spit thrown at it. So no wonder it can't see clearly at the moment. Hopefully the microfiber cloth is... it's not. I'm just clean the gunk off of this. Actually, use a little bit of water. The water went. Okay, microfiber cloth is not very water absorbent. This kind of slides off. Alright. It's looking a lot cleaner now. Okay, now I gotta find where the stream camera went. Okay, that's looking much better. Next thing is my eyes. My right eye is kind of struggling. So we're gonna do eye calibration. That's fun. So actually, I'm gonna also go ahead and recalibrate my arm tracking too. But yeah, about like once per session, I gotta like recalibrate my eyes. So okay. Looks like the calibration dot's gonna be right here. So in about roughly like 10 seconds, I'm gonna be doing a fun head calibration dance thing. Hopefully eventually I don't have to do this anymore, but for now, for eye tracking, this is basically what I end up having to do for like 2 minutes. Alright, now I gotta close my eyes in the next few seconds. I gotta keep them closed for like 20 seconds until it makes a beeping noise, and then I can stop holding my eyes shut. It's interesting. Alright, now my frame rate will drop for the next, uh, 10 to 15 minutes. Oh yeah. Yeah. 93%. Oh boy. I don't know if calibrating my eyes. At the same time, the stream was a good or bad idea, but you know, we'll see. I just cranked down my anti-aliasing settings, so hopefully that helps out a little bit. Um, yeah. But yeah, my frame rate's gonna be lower now for a little bit. Well, that cooks up. Uh, my eye tracking at the moment isn't awful. However, I'm having trouble closing one of my eyes. Like if I close my right eye, it's not closing. If I close my left eye, that one seems to be working. So I've just recalibrated. So in like 10 to 15 minutes, that problem should hopefully solve itself. I'm hoping anyway. If it doesn't, I'm going to throw a virtual chair because throwing a real chair is expensive. Uh, where's speech chat? It's not on for some reason. Okay, I'm gonna turn it on again then, so I can actually hear the chat. Cool. So, my plan for today really is I'm just going to talk about what I've been working on, tracking projects and whatnot. Also, complaining about hardware that has been kind of, peeving me. And also trying to forget that this calibration, or my eyes are calibrating underneath my feet at the moment. You guys probably cannot see it, but Babylonia will like spawn this uh progress indicator that I have to stare at my feet to see. But yeah, at the moment I'm currently working on expanding hand tracking, or I guess if I put my quest. Oh, close that menu. If I put my Quest Pro controllers down, you got hand tracking, right? But there's a problem where, like, if I move my arms right here out of view, it will stop working. Wait, did this actually? No way. It is actually trying to work. That's crazy. But yeah, I basically made it so that if the hand tracking cuts out, it'll fall back to slime trackers. It seems like that's actually kind of working at the moment, even though I don't have hand trackers and elbow. Or no, I got elbow. I don't have hand and lower arm trackers on at the moment. So, of course, if I move those aren't going to be moving right now. But it seems like it's actually trying to work, which is crazy. But yeah, that's something that I want to kind of continue to work on. I don't have a proper demonstration of it yet. Hopefully eventually. Unfortunately, if I like equip hand trackers, Steam or SlimeVR really like overrides it, so I cannot walk around and move around until I have slime trackers that have joysticks on them. So I need to add joysticks to slime trackers first before I can like actually do a proper demonstration of having like slime hand controllers. But yeah, I want to get rid of the Quest Pro controllers and just like use slime trackers if my hands are out of view of the headset. I think that'll be cool. Other things I'm working on. So I've already worked on like extending the range of butterfly trackers and just small slime trackers. They connect to a dongle. That dongle has 10 meters of range. And one problem that some people may have using these dongle-based trackers is they might be used to the range that Wi-Fi trackers bring them. So there's already a fix for this, or a solution for this, which is you can either plug the dongle into the side of your Quest headset, or you can plug it into your cell phone, and you can like broadcast the signal over cellular if you want to like walk around your neighborhood and still have your slime tracking getting sent to Slime Server. There's many options, but like I got my where is my other thing? Cool. Okay, I gotta double check that. Okay, my door is like right there. Okay, so if I do this and I move the camera here, and then I get an anchor to world. Wait, I just want to maybe straighten this out more. Whoa, 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 whoa. What happened? I got yeeted. I do not know what happened there. I am going to try to fix that. Okay, we're gonna go back to where we were. That was weird. Okay, so I can set this to world. And then I got to change the environment just so I can actually like blend the environment into my real world. But just to show off the amount of range we got. Oh god, we're getting some Pro controllers. What you doing? But yeah, we should be able to just like walk. And I'm just walking in my play space. My Quest Pro controllers aren't liking this though. Switching the rooms is kind of confusing, I think. Yeah, we got incredible amounts of range as far as tracking. I walked way more than 10 meters away from everything. And that's because my dongle is. I've actually got two Slimebeer dongles basically plugged directly into my headset via a USB hub. And I've got an OTG cable with power pass through on the side of my headset that's all connected to. So it all works. Alright, so I can disable the VR pass through. Okay, so I think the eye tracking actually finished calibrating. Okay, let's see. Okay. I can actually close my other eye. My right eye is still a bit more temperamental than the other one, which I don't fully understand since, like, both eyes are basically positioned similarly. But I guess there's some difference. I'm not totally sure. Yeah, it's like it takes a moment to realize that it's supposed to be closed. That's weird. Okay. I'm just moving the. I don't quite understand why. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's really struggling with me winking, I think. I think if I close both eyes. If I close both eyes at the same time, it seems like it works better, but yeah, I guess if I close one or the other, uh, one of my eyes has a harder time actually deciding if it wants to actually be shut. Um, we'll see if that improves. That seems to just be a quirk I'm running into with my tracking at the moment for the eyes. Okay, I gotta do a T-pose real quick. So I'm just gonna walk off camera for 2 seconds. Oh shit. my toe toed into something. Alright, let's see how that looks. I've got like 16 trackers on right now. So let's find a place. There's a few good places in this world to like just sit down. Um, let's see. Uh, okay, if I switch this to local. Okay. So kind of see where is a good spot here. Um, I might just pick this location maybe. We're gonna take a seat on the floor. Uh-oh. What have I done? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No. I broke the camera. Crap. Um, okay, okay. I accidentally, set the brightness to, like, 0. Just fly the camera. I am apparently not on the floor. Okay. I got to Alright, I gotta recalibrate my floor, apparently. Okay, well, that's, marginally better. Okay. Getting, like, alignment with the floor can be a little bit weird. Um Where's Task Manager? There it is. And Task Manager has betrayed me. Lovely. Right. Well then. Let's see if I can. I don't know. Um. It's better, I guess. My feet are still going through the floor. Okay. So. And then I. You know what? I'm gonna say good enough. Alright. Uh. So we got the floor calibrated mostly, I think. And now we can sit down. Except. Let's see. Stick my legs out like that. Alright. Uh. Hmm. Alright, good enough, I think. Yeah. Might be good enough. Alright, so we're kind of sitting down on the ground now. It took a bit of effort. Let's see if I can grab this so I can have a closer look at the feed, and we have lost a tracker. Not, no, okay. That would explain why things are wonk. Oh, yeah. That would explain why things are not as I expect. Okay, recalibrate the floor. I am still struggling to get the floor to line up. Right. Slime VR thinks my feet are underneath the floor. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of, I don't know. This might be as good as I'm getting for now. I'm trying to beat. Okay, is my hip, my hip tracker's on. So, why weird behavior? I'm just struggling with like weird technical difficulties. That's okay though, we get to explore them together. Um, I don't know. I have my legs crossed, but this, yeah, it doesn't look quite right. Um, Also, there's a chair behind me that is apparently making me clip. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try full reset again. And maybe, I don't know. This doesn't look right. Alright, that's looking better, I guess. Yeah, it's looking better. Getting the calibrations right is like one of the things that I'm not super great at yet. But we got it, I think. We got it. Yeah, there we go. My knees are actually like here. Ah, shit. I accidentally triggered a mounting calibration. Alright. I got T-pose. And I fucked it up again. Oh well. Oh well. Um, I'm not gonna worry about it for now. One day I will have perfect one-to-one alignment in my tracking, but I do not have that as of today because I do not have a model that matches my body one-to-one, so I cannot even begin to start troubleshooting that yet. But, you know, the bright side is that I have any sort of tracking. Slimebeer still thinks my feet are a lot lower than they actually are, and that is kind of causing some issues. I don't know if I can, like, can I, like, shorten my legs, maybe? Like, what if I... Yeah, no, that's just incredibly cursed. There is a thing I can do where, like... Yeah, that's super cursed. I can... reset all proportions. Okay, so Slimebeer thinks I'm shorter. Okay, let's see how that works out. Okay, and oh, I, you know, my feet still go through the floor. Um, yeah. I don't know. Getting the floor to work properly is like one of the hardest things I find. But I'm just not gonna focus too much on that, I guess. Because it mostly works, I guess. Like, I got my elbow tracking and all that stuff where I can, like, you know, get shoulder tracking. Signbearer thinks I need to calibrate again. That's cool. Um, but yeah, I forgot what we were talking about because of all that troubleshooting, but I'm just gonna start a new topic. So, oh right, so tracker range. So I'm working on another idea where instead of like plugging into a Quest 3 or a Quest headset or a cell phone, I'm also gonna be making a dedicated like either Raspberry Pi or ESP32 device that you just plug the dongle into, and it'll just auto broadcast it to Wi-Fi. So you don't need your cell phone or the Quest to do it. And I don't know how useful that's going to be for people, but it'll just be another option that people can use if they really want to. We'll see how that turns out, though. Um, it could turn out terribly or great. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. I think another thing that, God, there's like so many projects that I want to do. Um, I think scaling this avatar to be like more accurate to like my real life proportions will probably help a lot with the tracking accuracy. I think that'll at least give me like a starting point to like start getting one-to-one tracking. Because like it's like a two-part thing, right? You need to make sure your calibrations are right and all that, but then also like the length of like the legs of the avatar and everything also have to really actually match your real body. Otherwise, your tracking will not be as accurate. So that's something I'm kind of grappling with at the moment. But I've got like so many tracking points. So many. Like, look at that. I got so many tracking points. I've got my toes, I've got my ankles, I've got my knees, I got my hips, I got my chest, I got my elbows, I got my shoulders, I got my mouth, I got my eyes. It's not perfect, but it's all open source. Anyone can like freely work on it, and it's great. Um, but I find that like when I start like sitting down and doing stuff like that, that's when I start noticing that the length of this avatar's bones are not quite the same as my actual joints. Like if I put my hands on my knees are like right here. Like my hands are like right here. Because the length of these legs are not the same as my real body, it's not ending up in the same spots. So, for all intents and purposes, it's just like these legs are kind of in an approximate position because the bone lengths of this avatar do not match my real body. And that's an avatar issue. It's not necessarily like a tracking issue. And some avatars have better skeletons than others. One project I'm currently working on is a VR treadmill. I looked at the VR treadmills that are available right now. Like there's like the Cat VR, there's another one called Accelerate, and I've kind of made the decision that like I could have bought a Cat VR outright at one point, but I ended up making the decision that I should probably see if I can make a VR treadmill cheaper and open source. So, and if I succeed with it, then anyone else can like take the same blueprints I did and build their own VR treadmill. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for, just to like have something that's like maybe $500 Canadian or less, and have that be something that like people can just DIY. I spent like about 2 weeks just printing out 3D printing like tiles that could hold a bunch of balls. Let me like, I can actually like print these out here. So so I basically got like this, right? I got one of these tiles 3D printed as like a test run. So there's about 400 tiny balls in here, ball bearings. And the idea is that when the foot goes on those, it'll roll and like make the surface slippery and slick. And it's kind of what you want for a VR treadmill. You want to be able to walk, but you stay in place. And so ideally these balls help with that. So then once I kind of played around with that and I knew that was going to kind of work, I printed about 68 more tiles. And you notice I'm like in this picture, these are all like metal ball bearings. But had I went with metal ball bearings, this project would have cost me like $900 just for the balls. So I ended up opting for plastic. It might not be as durable in the long term, maybe, but I was able to get this proof of concept so far. Now, all I need to do is I need to get some wood to kind of hold the tiles where they're supposed to be. And I also got to build a frame and a harness that will help hold me in one spot while I'm walking. So that's the plan. Once I get that working, then I get to work on the software, which I'm going to base on my tracking. And my idea is that when you lift up one leg off the ground, the opposing leg that stays on the ground will become a decaying joystick. So if I tilt my leg, in a direction that indicates that I want to tilt forward, that will add forward joystick movement and move me forward. But if I retain that same position, like if I stop midway in a position and my leg stays at the same angle and doesn't move anymore, then it will kind of decay and stop at that point until I move and tilt my leg more in that direction. And also, if I decide midway that I'm going to walk backwards, then that will start adding backwards movement that decays. So I can like course correct, and I can like strafe left or right, forward or walk forward, backwards, mid walk. So that's a plan for the actual software locomotion part of things. And if all that works out, I will have a homemade VR treadmill solution that is less than $500 Canadian. And for American dollars, that would be like, I don't know, like $300 American-ish, maybe. Or maybe like, I don't know. Something around there. I give or take. Exact numbers a calculator can grab, but roughly that much. So that's my plan for like the VR treadmill concept, and hopefully I can just be like super immersed and walk forever, and I don't have to worry about having like infinite range anymore. Even though, I like the fact that I got infinite range and I can just walk around my entire house and that'll just keep tracking the VR chat. I love that, but being able to infinite walk and not have to worry about obstacles that I'm going to walk into, that would be cool. Yeah. Also, if you guys are curious on how much of a mess my headset looks like at the moment, with all this like tracking it and stuff, this photo's kind of old, but this kind of showcases all the face tracking I have. So like you can kind of see like we got like the face camera here, we got the left or the right eye camera here, the left eye camera over here. Wait, this might be mirrored. This is mirrored. Okay, so yeah, so this is the right eye camera. This is the left eye camera. Wait. Yeah. And then, yeah, we got all these cameras. We got these 3 cameras. And all those wires. And since then, I have gotten more things to make sure this headset lasts as long as it can. So I ended up... Oh, that's not what I want to move. I ended up getting a 60,000 milliamp hour battery and putting that on the back of my headset. Here's my Bobo VR S3 battery bank. So this bigger battery bank powers my face tracking. It can also power my headset if I want it to, but I usually just use the Bobo VR S3 battery to do that. But sometimes the Bobo VR S3 batteries, I forget to charge them or something, and sometimes I have to use this battery for the headset and that. I usually don't like doing that, but sometimes I have to. But yeah. So a lot of batteries so I can just stay wireless and not have to be tethered to a wire. I hate being tethered to wires, which might sound kind of funny considering that I do want to get my hands on a big screen Beyond 2, just because I want to see what the resolution is like and everything. But another project I might do is if I get the Beyond 2, I'm probably gonna try and see if I can get working inside out tracking for it, and also convert it into a wireless display, because, you know, I like my things wireless, but the Big Screen Beyond 2 also has really high screen resolution. I'll figure it out. We'll figure. Yeah, it'll be another project. I just like the prospect of the Big Screen Beyond 2 because it is a very lightweight headset. And I would love to be able to try more VR stuff with my grandmother, who is currently in a nursing home now. Things are a lot heavier for them now, so the Quest 3 is a little too heavy. I did try the Quest 3 with my grandmother. I showed them a short video where they got to look around at elephants and everything, but it was still kind of heavy. So, you know, they had to hold the front of the headset with their hands while they looked around, and I would like to have a headset where they don't have to do that when they're looking around. They can just look around, and the headset's not this heavy, bulky thing on their head. But yeah, there's lots of cool stuff happening in VR right now. I have, where was I sitting? I hit one of my controller sticks, or something drifted, or something happened. But yeah. Lots of fun VR things. God, one thing I sometimes like to show off, though. You guys want to see the very first tracker I ever soldered together? Well, first I think I'll show the casing, right? At the time, I did not have the money for a 3D printer or anything, but I wanted trackers that kind of work, so this was the first tracker I ever put together. Just the bottle cap, some tape, and that little wire on the outside right here is the antenna. So yeah, that was my first tracker. And then if you want to see my first ever soldering job, trying to put together a tracker. My soldering is way better than this now, by the way. I now I build trackers for some of my friends here and there now, but I had to start somewhere, right? So this was my first ever soldering job. I had a soldering iron that was way too big for the pin, to accurately solder onto the pins. I had to use an X-Acto knife to keep the solder separated and keep it from bridging. And the soldering iron also had no temperature control. You just plug it into the wall, and whatever temperature it's at, that's the temperature it's at. You can't really change it. So, and if you guys want to see the soldering iron I was using at that time, hold on, let's see. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, here, this was a soldering iron that I was using to solder together my trackers. It's super cursed, but it, yeah, this soldering iron led to this. This and this. This soldering iron did this work. it might explain why it wasn't super good looking. But yeah, it was fun. It's been a long journey too. Like I think I built this tracker probably near the beginning of summer of last year. Since then, I've assembled like at least 40, over 40 trackers at this point. 10 of those trackers I am wearing right now. And then the rest I have like built and sent out to friends. Has my eye tracking gone weird? Sometimes I cannot tell if like. Oh, right. Right. I disabled the mirror, and that for some reason it's kind of throwing me off. But yeah. There's some other things I've done too, where like initially I couldn't even afford trackers. So this was like my first ever like set of tracking, of full leg tracking. These are Wii nunchucks that are on my feet, and then these are Wii remotes. These are also Wii remotes. Just Wii remotes all around. Um, yeah, it was not very good tracking, but it worked on a very like like it technically it just barely qualified as tracking, but it worked. Um, and I had this whole thing of like just seeing like what I could turn into like trackers. So like check this out. This is the 2DS XL hip tracker. No, I cannot close it because if I close the 2DS XL, it falls asleep and the tracking will stop. So, yeah, when strapping it to my waist, I had to like this is a bungee cable right here that's holding the 2DS XL by the hinge, and yeah, that's the 2DS XL hip tracker. And also, let's not forget about another experiment where I PS5 side tracker, and then there's like an antenna sticking out there for some other tracking I had built. It's been a wild journey. But yeah, um, one of the biggest things has just been trying to figure out like what other wild projects I want to work on. Um, it's just been wild. Oh yeah, we can also like check out more of the more of the face tracking. Um, I don't know if it's gonna work properly, but if I it's like I can like yeah, like I can puff out each cheek. Uh, I can move my tongue around. It's pretty cool. I I I like the tracking that I for the most part I like the fact that I have face tracking at all. I do have some complaints about like having to like recalibrate it um each session, or like if I take off my headset and put it back on again later, like because the headset's not positioned exactly how it was before, um the eye tracking just doesn't behave the same again. So I have to then recalibrate it again, and that takes like 15 minutes, like 2 minutes of me like actually like I gotta like, we did that at the beginning of the stream where like I was like doing that, and then like, eh, and then also having to be like, eh, 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 and like, I hope I, I'm hoping that in the future, um, my calibrations I do can remain stable for more than just one play session. But this is all open source, constantly being worked on. Um, And honestly, a lot of there's not very many alternatives out there. So, you know, this is what we got. Whoa. I got jump scared by the follow notification. Thank you for the follow. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of cool technology being worked on. One thing I need to figure out though, I don't know if there's any new technology things happening that are actually cool to talk about. Um, aside from what I've been working on. Honestly, like a lot of like the innovation that's been happening that I've been seeing has been mostly been happening in the open source and just like independent and just enthusiastic group of people that are really into VR. Not a lot of corporations are like, aside from like Valve and Meta, are really putting in the effort. Oh, I've been talking about it way too much. I've 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 been talking a lot about what I've been working on. Uh, let's see if I can move the camera here. Like all these photos about like so so yeah, so this is the first ever solder job I did. Where did I put it? Where did I put that camera in VR chat? Yeah, first ever solder job I did for a tracker. It's god awful. Um, the solder 20 euro soldering iron I used to make it, and the first case I ever used, and then also, uh, This is the first set of tracking I ever used. And then the 2DS XL hip tracker, the PS5, the PS5 controller thigh trackers, VR treadmill tile, and then full VR treadmill floor where I now gotta buy. Now I got a VR treadmill floor where I gotta buy a bunch of plywood. Right, so my plan for the treadmill is I've got all these tiles. This is like 25,600 bearing balls. These ones are plastic because that was cheaper. That only cost me like 161 Canadian dollars. And then $40 worth of filament. I'm speaking in Canadian dollars, so extrapolate that to whatever currency that you may be used to. But yeah, the biggest thing is once I need to get plywood and assemble that together so I can actually like have a frame that holds the tiles where they're supposed to be. And also I'm gonna have an overhead some overhead straps that keep me in place, so if I walk forward that I am kept in the center. The locomotion system is going to be based on my full body tracking. When you lift up a leg off the ground, the opposite leg will be used as a decaying joystick. So if I start walking like forward, for example, my leg that is still on the ground will tilt in a certain direction. Either it will tilt more forward if I'm walking backwards, or it will start tilting, backwards if I'm walking forwards. Based on that angle change, I can start applying forward or backwards momentum, or even the same for like strafing. If it starts tilting to the side that way or that way, I can like translate that into moving the setting thumbstick input either direction. And it'll also be a decaying input. So like if I start moving forward, but I stop, actually like the tilt doesn't change anymore, then movement will stop, so that I can like course correct, and change direction midway through, or stop moving midway through a stride. And if I continue moving in that stride, then I'll continue to move. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. I got to figure out the real world physics of just being held in place and walking on this thing, and then I get to also figure out the software aspect of things. Yeah, I'll likely be using slime trackers. Hypothetically, maybe eventually I add Vive support. But I don't have Vives to test with, so that'll have to be a community effort, I think. But yeah, lots of things as far as projects for me. Not really. Like by the time people like notice like that there's drift, they usually will notice it visually anyway, and they'll like, if I want to like reset, I just like do that, and now I'm recalibrated for like the next hour. Um, but there is something that's happening more recently. Someone has apparently correctly implemented the magnetometer. So, unfortunately for me, though, uh, my trackers have a bootloader that makes them run at 2.1 volts. I cannot undo this bootloader without accessing the debug pins of my microcontrollers. And um, I never thought I was going to have to revert this back to 3 power. So, um, but anyway, someone's apparently gotten the magnetometers working properly, and apparently, they aren't that bothered by bad magnetic environments, which is the big reason why slimes have not been using the magnetometer all this time. So basically, yeah, but basically, someone has implemented the magnetometer properly, and what this means is that uh, the drift times of slimes without stay aligned can go up to like 5 hours. Yeah, so unfortunately for me, though, like I'm gonna have to build new trackers just to test this. And thankfully, like I do have the parts to do that. I just had 6 LSM6DSV IMUs arrive today, and I had 10 Pro Micro boards arrive today. The batteries won't be here until at least the 30th. That's what I mean. That's what the AliExpress shipping estimates tell me anyway. So the batteries always take the longest to get here. There's been a couple times where they have actually been fast, but most of the time they are not. But yeah, so I'm gonna build a set of 6 small slime trackers with a magnetometer on and working, and using firmware that this other person made. I think the Getting Cat made this firmware that gets the mag to work, and it actually is properly calibrated, and like this will be a big deal if it actually like if what I'm hearing is true. This will be great. Getting Cat. Now I don't know if that's their name on GitHub, but that's their Discord name. But yeah, I definitely want to try that. Say that again. Oh wait, no, I can read the message. Where's Brave? Uh, no, I'm not familiar. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen like I can't remember the YouTuber's name, but I saw like a video. I think it was like the Maritron or something, where the person like had a VR like a treadmill setup, and they just walked on it, and it was set up for VR. So I saw that video, and it was definitely interesting. But the reason why I didn't even decide to try that was because it wasn't omnidirectional. Yeah, and also my hope with like this project is like I want a VR treadmill that like is like less than $500 in parts, and if it works well, then other people can just replicate what I did, and hopefully have something that's on par with like the $1,000 to $2,000 VR treadmills. That's the hope, anyway. The only thing that keeps stopping me from the VR treadmill project progressing, though, is I keep running out of money. Yeah, yeah. There's like, it's kind of sucks because like there's not been a lot of like. I don't want to like dog on like the options that are out at the moment, right? Because getting a product to market is kind of a hard thing. But I feel like aside from like Disney, like all these companies that have been like looking into like VR treadmills, like they've focused on like making it work, but they're still so expensive. And like the cat VR, like I could have bought a cat VR, but like there are so many things like you have to relearn how to walk. so there's like an adapting period to that, and it's like I saw the Accelerate treadmill, and I heard like that VR treadmill, you don't have to learn how to walk. Yeah. So like I'm trying to like get to a point where like the having like balls, I've kind of decided it's like that's like the first step to having natural movement. Now I've also cut a lot of corners in making this project. Like a lot of all the VR treadmills, they have like a curved base, but this VR treadmill is a flat base. Whether that's gonna bite me in the ass later, we'll find out in testing. But you know, this is like, how many corners can we cut? Does it still work how it should? How cheap can we get it? We got all these different things going. Because once you like start adding like curved floors and stuff, that like makes it cost more. It takes more effort. But I am, yeah, but yeah, like, but I do agree on like the concept that like Accelerate VR has done, which is like having rolling balls. Yeah, and like I think having rolling balls is the way forward, rather than having like slidey shoes where you got to like lubricate. There'll probably still have to be some lubrication in this system, to be fair, but I feel like the balls will help it be really slick as a surface, and also just I don't know. I feel like balls allow you to have a lot more smoothness in walking. The real challenge will be the strap that actually holds me in place. There's so many designs that that strap mechanism could use. Uh, I've seen a setup where some person like had like this thing called like the VR saddle. So you actually like have you're actually like sitting down in a saddle, and that's actually giving you leverage to like lift your feet up a little bit while you're like moving your legs. Or I've seen systems where like the straps are like holding around like the arms, and that's holding you in place that way. Like there's multiple strap designs that could be used for the strap, but maybe that would be one of those things that like the community will like R&D on and find what's the best like strap. But having like just the floor and the locomotion system itself, software wise, working would be great. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be the hard part, right? I kind of feel like a lot of like the VR treadmills kind of hold you from like the back with like this like pivot thing going on, and I'm like, I kind of want to like do an overhead strap with like a overhead spinning system, just 'cause I feel like that would be a lot more like stable in all directions. And also, like a lot of these VR treadmills, you can't strafe, like you can't walk side to side. You can't really walk backwards. You can only walk forwards, and like that's only like a fraction of like how a person might want to move. Mm, I don't know if that's necessary yet. Ideally, we would not have that system if it's not actually needed, but testing would I don't know. Testing would have to dictate that. Having a motorized system would cost more money. So I personally would want to see if there's like a way to not have that. But uh, I'm hoping I might be able to finish this VR treadmill project in April. But like I keep having expensive hardware expenses. I recently got a 5070 Ti because my frame rates in VR chat have just been so low. And it turns out it's not a graphics card issue. My CPU is just super weak sauce. Uh, so now I either have to buy a 5800 X3D for $1,000 because everyone bought them out, or I can just bite the bullet, buy DDR5 RAM for $570, get an AM5 Ryzen 9550 X3D and a new motherboard, or I just put up with the fact that like I have a 5070 Ti. Yeah, or I can deal with the fact that I have a 5070 Ti now. I used to have the 3080. I have a 5070 Ti now. It's always at 30% GPU utilization, not even 100% utilization in VR chat. And like, my CPU is at 100% utilization right now. My GPU is only at 33% utilization. Like, I am so CPU bound that, like, that's the next upgrade that I need to make to actually have a smooth experience in VR. And I either have to spend $1,000 to stay at AM4 or 1,700 to upgrade. It's wild. Yeah, just hardware prices are like making me sad. But I can write it off as a business expense, so like it's not all that bad, right? Yeah, I technically have just enough parts because of all my PC upgrades I've had to do within the past since 2026. I technically have just enough parts to build a a full blown Linux machine. So I'm gonna take my old parts, I'm gonna put them together, and that'll become a Linux machine. Um, so that'll be running my old 3080, everything else, and I'm going to finally see how far I can get with Linux. Yeah, as soon as I can, like, I just gotta put the parts together, and I will have my first Linux machine built, and hopefully, like my plan is I'm going to see just how many Windows applications I can run on it. Like the biggest reason I have never like I've tried Linux in the past, and the reason why I didn't stick with it was the moment I realized I actually had to do any type of work, Linux just did not have the applications to do it, and Wine was not good enough to run most of what I wanted to run. And this was like probably a decade ago. So I'm gonna assume a lot has changed since a decade ago, and that support for Windows applications is way better now. And if I can run like 100% of what I can right now, I will probably switch to it. I'm gonna. What was it called? I forgot what it's called. Already forgot what distro I'm gonna try. But it's a distro that's like geared towards former Windows users to the point where like you can like if you spend money you have themes that look exactly like Windows. Actually, I can check my downloads. All right, yeah. Zorin OS. That's what I'm gonna be trying out. I'm gonna be checking out Zorin OS. Yeah, I'm a very I may know how to program. I may know how to flashboards. But the last thing I want is a computer I have to tinker with. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be running VR on Linux straight away. Um, I will most likely still be running on Windows 10 for my VR experience, but I do want to start researching and getting myself used to Linux on a separate machine. And then when the time comes and, you know, when the time comes, I'll have been able to practice on Linux and see how much of my stuff works on Linux and yada yada. And maybe then finally switch off Windows forever. But I have decided, like, I'm never installing Windows 11 on my computer. It's just not happening. Uh, Microsoft can say that my security updates are gone, but oh, I did not mean to do that. Apparently my VR keyboard is typing. Yeah, I can't convince myself to get Windows 11 on my computer, especially like the 30% decrease in performance of just using Windows 11 is unacceptable. I I I'm not putting my computer through that. I am already trying to squeeze as much performance I can out of what I have right now. I cannot add any more overhead. And I'm sure just moving to Linux will already add so much performance. Like Linux already has way less overhead from what I understand because it only has the stuff you need. Uh, It doesn't have all this extra shit. It's just the only reason Windows wins out most of the time is because it's got better software support. That's the that's the only reason that Windows wins for most of the time. But I'm willing to give Linux another shot because I'm just like I've heard stories of like games that were made for Windows running better on Linux with despite the fact that there's also like an abstraction layer happening at the same time. And like that stuff is nuts. It's like what you guys are having to emulate drivers and the performance is still better than Windows? Like what? How is that possible? But then when you think about it, yeah, it's just crazy. Um, yeah, like I don't know. Microsoft's trying to get everyone to Windows 11, but they've like already told so many people that hey, your hardware that is otherwise working is shit. You cannot upgrade to our operating system. So you've got those people also who like they can't even update to Windows 11 even if they wanted to. They're like, oh yeah, buy a new computer in this economy. Our hardware is just unaffordable. Yeah, it's nuts. It's yeah, I don't know. I really don't think that Microsoft is doing a lot to harm its own products, and it's I don't know whether I don't know if it's funny or sad because like literally all they have to do is like change absolutely nothing about their operating system, just release security patches, change nothing else, and I would just continue using Windows. But they're trying to cram this stuff that nobody wants. They're making the operating system slower, more inefficient, worse. Heck, you got people like moving to Mac OS. Like I still heard that one story of like, uh, because of like that Windows recall feature, you had law firms who stopped using Windows. Yeah, because it's like you had these companies like law firms were like, we can't maintain attorney-client um, confidentiality with this feature existing, and you've locked us out of like security feature updates for Windows 10. So like, we're moving to Mac. Like, I don't know how. Let's build a keylogger into your system that to help you, to help you, a keylogger that helps you. But we're putting a keylogger in your system nonetheless. Um, I don't know who signed off on that. That was a great idea. I did. I still gotta play around with it more. The biggest thing I think I'm waiting on is being able to like use it in VR chat and get that all hooked up. Um, so I don't have any core feedback on Cyberfinger quite yet, but I do want to use that more. I want to be able to route it through the Slime VR driver I'm working on because I'm working on controller input for the Slime VR controllers. But uh, but yeah, there's a lot of like firmware stuff that I've been, I guess, waiting on. There are some things that I can flash to my Cyberfingers to test. I still need to get around to that. Um, there's just so many projects going on at the moment. So, but I do want to do some hardcore testing with Cyberfinger. Oh, I don't know if I've talked about this yet. Maybe I have. It's hard to remember. Uh, I got my time trackers working with my Xbox 360, and that was funny. Or actually, I don't know if funny is even the right word, but yeah, that is a fun project. I was like doing all this research, figuring out how to get stuff working with consoles. Someone had already built a project called Joypad OS. Yeah, uh, I think I gotta upload an update to that. I think, but yeah, uh, it X input is going to be really cool if someone finds that for flat screen gaming. It'll be great for accessibility and just all sorts of stuff, I think. Yeah, and, like, anyone can, like, implement their own like, I got some default, like, presets that people can use, but, like, people can, like, go and, like, tinker around and make their own presets and just, you know, do whatever they think would work. Yeah, using, using slime trackers for Wii motion controls would be an interesting use case. I, at some point, think it'd be fun to try them as on a real Wii, if that's even possible through firmware or hardware. I do know through Joypad OS, I can simulate a GameCube controller, and the Wii will accept that. So any GameCube games can be turned into motion control games, which is another just wild thing to think about. There's just so much stuff with that project I have not tested yet. Oh, oh, there's a picture right there. I just been like sitting on the floor. I need to stand up. And there's also a lot of other places to check out in this world. Hmm. Let me open up the menu again. I gotta open up the chat. Or is the browser? Oh, my face tracking. Uh, so I'm using Project Babel and iTrack VR, and they're both using the Babylonia program, but my headset is a mess. Um, I'll show you an old photo. So here we go. Yeah, we got. Oh, we got the iTrack. Okay, I wanna. Okay. Yes, we got our face tracking, our eye tracking, and wires. And then uh so actually maybe I might be able to show what I'm doing in a sec. But yeah, another shot of my headset. Lots of battery banks and wires. It's a mess, but it's not like I feel or see it while I'm wearing it, so it's like not that big of a deal. It's only cursed when I show it to other people. But otherwise, yeah. If nobody asks, they don't know it's a mess. But as far as like my headset, so I have OER Toolkit showing my chat as a desktop window, and I'm using something called SpeechChat.com because that like reads out my all the messages out loud, so I can actually know that people are trying to talk to me. Because sometimes you gotta like talk when there's no one here, and so uh yeah, I forget to look at chat, so I just have every message just read out. But I've got fucking way too much tracking though. Yeah, I'm using OVR Toolkit, and I have a browser tab open with Speech Chat, which reads both YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, then there's that too. Uh, Speech Chat reads my text messages out loud, so I don't have to read because I forget that people might be messaging me through the chat. I'm not always constantly looking at chat, so it's just oh. I have accidentally disconnected my hip tracker. So it's about to fall off. So I'm about to go all spaghetti. This is my fault and not the fault of the tracking. Uh, frick. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna. Okay, I think that should be sufficient. Yeah, I've got way too much tracking now. People go wild when I do this. Like, what? You can move your toes? It's like, yeah, I can. It's not that weird though. Like, I can move my toes in real life too. One thing, right now I'm wearing 16. I got two, I got four trackers on my toes, two trackers for my feet, two trackers for my ankles, two for my thighs, one for my hip, one for my chest, two for my elbows, and two for my shoulders. You know what's sad? I'm like streaming at 60 frames per second, and my video chat can only output at like 17 frames per second, so I don't even know why I'm streaming at a frame rate this high. Oh boy. You know what's great? Apparently, uh, there's like nothing showing the chat messages coming up, so no one knows exactly what words I'm talking to. I'm using Babylonia uh for my mouth and eye tracking. Oh my god, do I have to recalibrate my eyes again? I got this weird issue where, like, after a while, if the head like shifts and whatnot, like I can no longer like close my eyes individually, or they start to like go kind of like lazy eyed. Oh my god, it's my left eye that doesn't want to close anymore. What the heck? That is so weird. Yeah. That's my biggest pet peeve. It's eventually like the calibration I've done becomes garbage and I gotta redo it. Just because the headsets will shift around or whatever. I close both my eyes at the same time. Both my eyes will close, but I can't do them one at a time. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, like I tried using iTrack VR, the standalone app, but yeah, like I tried iTrack VR standalone, like the standalone app, but for some reason, like, it was too unstable. The eyes, like, shook so much that, like, I was like, I'm just gonna try Babylonia, and Babylonia was better, but just, like, having to recalibrate. Apparently, they're working on a better model so that, like, people won't have to recalibrate every time they put on their headset, but, every time I put on my headset, things just shift just enough that the eye tracking is just not perfect anymore. Also also, one thing I've kinda done with the face tracking, um yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, one thing that I oh, wait, what the fuck? Why is my okay, there we go. Um, yeah, one thing I've been experimenting with is I noticed that with my face tracking, like, for the mouth in particular, there is, like, a half a second delay between my mouth moving and the face actually moving. So what I've done for the stream is I've actually delayed my microphone feed by half a second to try and line up the audio with the mouth. Do you feel like the audio and the mouth have been lining up okay throughout this stream? Or are they still not perfect? I think the last time I tested any of this was, like, probably, a couple weeks ago, and I haven't, like, really looked at and tested this stuff since I CPU pasted my computer, which may actually reduce delay. Lasagna. Wine. Wah. So. I. Oh. Uh, so I actually turned off Vizemes because if I turn on Vizemes, this is what it looks like if I turn on Vizemes. It's like so exaggerated in its movement and it just looks weird. Like having Vizemes turned on looks weird because what it's doing is it's guessing what the mouse shape should be based on the audio and it just moves so exaggerated. Like I yeah, like I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about having like Vizemes turned on because like I would rather the mouse move based on what the cameras are actually seeing versus like the microphone guessing what the movement should be. But I don't know. I feel it's weird. Maybe other people's don't. Yeah, because like this is back to like not using Visemes, and I feel like it's a lot more like subtle. I guess I've never actually tried face tracking with Resonite. To be fair, I haven't put a lot of time into Resonite. I just the first problem is like the first problem is yeah, like I lost my train of thought. Yeah, yeah, like with Resonite, the first step is like apparently like there's not a lot of like plug and play avatars for Resonite, and the few that I've found so far, most of them are like furry avatars, and no disrespect to people who use furry avatars, but like that's not the type of style that I personally wear a lot of. So it's like I would have to make my own avatar, and then Resonate system kind of confuses me. Like I get what Resonate's going for. Like it's a platform made by like tinkerers for tinkerers, and for people who really love tinkering, Resonate's probably great. But for me, like by the time I'm like in VR chat, my brain is already shut down. I don't want to be thinking anymore. Yeah. And like the thing is like I'm a nerd myself. Like I love being nerdy, but it's like and I think the other thing that's kind of hard for me is like at least with like VR chat, right? You still gotta learn Unity, but what you learn in Unity can still be used for like any other projects. Like you could take the skills you've learned from VR chat and like go into general game development. Those skills are all transferable. But if I gotta learn how to use Resonite, I'm learning how to exclusively use Resonite, regardless of any future time investment I may spend in Resonite. And I just haven't had like the time to just sit down and like learn another system. But there are some really cool things I've seen people do. Like someone was like driving a car and then their friend was like tinkering with the internals of the car while it was driving live and then changed the behavior of the car to try and win a race. And like stuff like that. Like that's not something you can do in VR chat. Stuff like that is just wild. So like there's definitely some cool stuff. I do need to revisit it though. Um yeah. Yeah, I also still need to like get this avatar set up in such a way where it's a bit more one-to-one with my actual body. That way my tracking can be one-to-one. Because that's the one thing I'm struggling with now. Is like the length of my like that length the leg lengths of my avatar do not line up with my real body. And that's like throwing off like if I'm actually feeling my body right. So that's gonna be some effort. I'm gonna have to take some like pictures of myself and like throw them into Blender and like maybe tweak this avatar. But yeah, just so many projects and so little time, honestly. You know, I could resize bones directly in Unity if I really wanted to, maybe. But yeah, like whatever I set up, it's gonna be set up for VR chat first, and then ported to whatever else exists after. Yeah, I mean, that would be one way to do it. Um, I feel like there's like many ways to like go about this. But yeah, like God, I have not spent a lot of time on just the avatar yet. Like, I need more clothing. Like, so mostly, like this avatar is like, I can like adjust like all these sliders, like fucking, you know, oh, maybe not that slider. I don't take that slider or anything, but yeah, like there's all these like sliders that I can use to, like adjust like the actual like size of the avatar. So like if I make the hips wider, then I like kinda is closer to my body. But then there's like things like the shoulders and whatnot. Like my shoulders are not this uh shallow or narrow. Yeah. It's oh shit, where's my cleaning like clothing? There's not a lot of like clothing options. Like we got the sweater dress, which I personally want to wear because that's like way too hot. And oh, okay. Um, Apparently we're in a bra now. Get this cardigan, which would still make me overheat. Oh, yeah. Well, pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, I took off the dress and apparently everything else went off. Um, but yeah, but yeah, it's like there needs to be more toggles and stuff on this avatar. I think just for like outfits and whatnot, or even just like I don't know, just have like an outfit that's a little less generic. There's a sports jacket, or I guess a hoodie. Yeah, there's a hoodie. Oh, sex shipping. Yeah, God, I I've done this demonstration already, but like I love showing off just like how far I can like walk in my room with my tracking. Oh, my face is not smiling. Okay. Uh uh Alright, let's find another spot. So I think there's a few spots here that are great for like showcasing just how far away out of my office I can walk. I know this hallway's usually the best. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like oh, okay. Um, no, this isn't gonna work. Or will it? No, it's too angled. I cannot walk that far. I must turn off the boundary. Alright, now the boundary's gone. Now I can do this. Oh god. I'm lagging out. Oh boy. My. Oh, is everything so slow? Ooh, my computer's dying right when I'm demonstrating this. Yeah, this is like proving why I need to get myself a new CPU. My computer struggles when I just start doing this. Uh-oh. I have lost the camera. No, camera, where'd it go? Come back. My Pro controllers are not really happy about the fact that I'm like switching between so many rooms. Yeah, it's fun. I really wanna I don't know. I I hate that I've spent so much on my computer this year, but like I really need to do these upgrades. And it's like I I really hope by April I'm saving money again, cause like or saving money at all actually. Like after I've done these like upgrades, I don't want to upgrade my computer for another like 5 years. Cause man, yeah, like cause like it's gonna be like another at least $1,700 just to get the RAM, a new motherboard, and a new CPU. And like I'm like if I have to spend $1,000 on a 5800X 3D, at that point I may as well just spend more money so that I can just do a permanent upgrade and not have to like upgrade again in the future. God, I keep losing Brave. Alright, I'm gonna quickly grab my pasta. I'm gonna eat while I'm in VR and on stream. But I will mute my microphone. See you later. Honestly, I think. Oh wow. Hey, boy. I've actually been streaming for nearly 3 hours. I'm probably actually going to take a break myself. So, thanks to everyone who watched. I hope you had fun. And uh, hopefully, you guys will show up next time to see what I'm working on. Now, uh, I still need to figure out a schedule for this type of stuff, but I am hoping to just stream at least once a week. So maybe at a minimum, I stream every Friday. And yeah, we'll just talk about tech, what's going on, what I've been working on, what I've done, and that will be great. Yeah. So I'll see you guys next time. Oh, come on. I'm trying to fucking